blink and you'll miss that turnaround. We go again. If you think you were done with Coda, that's okay. Mexico is up, and that's where we're going next. This is season 7, episode number 38 of the Outlap F1 podcast. It's our 2025 Mexico City GP preview show. You've got Andy, and I'm along with Cody tonight. Cody, how is it been hanging? I know minutes since we've seen each other, but how you doing?
I'm doing all right. Looking forward to, this is going to sound really strange because we did have a blast in Coda, but I am actually looking forward to sitting on my couch and watching the next one with, actually, this will probably be at a pretty normal time, so I won't have a cup of coffee. I was mentioning when we were down in Austin that I associate the theme music for when they start the coverage for the race. I associate that with like the smell of coffee because I'm usually up at the crack of dawn.
Yeah, I usually associate it with like trying to get myself pumped up because I'm usually half asleep until that happens, and then that music just is one of those things. It's a reaction I have. It's instantly awake, all good to go. Right after the session ends, boom, I can fall asleep again. But while that thing's going on, I am there for it. And we hope you are all going to be here for this weekend's action in Mexico City. If you have found our show, as always, welcome along. We are glad you're here. You can find us on X, on Instagram, Discord, Reddit, and of course here on YouTube. At Outlap F1 Podcast is the handle for all that. If you like what you're seeing and you enjoy what you're hearing, you can do us a solid. Click either the like or subscribe button on YouTube. If you're on your favorite podcasting app, which we are on all of the big ones, specifically Apple Podcasts, Spotify, those ones, Google Podcasts, we're on Pocket Casts. There's a whole bunch of places you can find our voices. A 5-star review on any of those will help us come up a little bit better in search results. We would appreciate it a lot if you would like to do that. You can email the show, as always, outlapf1@gmail.com. Thank you so much to the folks who continue to support the show. You guys know this list really well by now. Thanks so much to Dean Warwick, Yuri Dolchester, Paul Weaver, Quentin Warden, Kevin Kelly, Regan Stanzik, Timothy Brown, and of course, Jonathan Scott. If you'd like to join that list and you'd like to leave us a small little monetary donation, there's a link in our show notes. You do not have to do that, but we would love it if you would. Drop us $1, $5. What does that do? All goes back into the show. We're not doing this to make money. We're doing it because we enjoy it. And it'll all go into buying technology and things that we can do to make the show sound a little better and bring us a little bit more flexibility to do more fun things like we did when we were in Austin and did the recording from the hotel room. So all that is good stuff. But yeah, if you want to do that, feel free. All right. Believe it or not, there was so much going on in Austin with the news and everything. We didn't really get the chance to cover this story because there was so many sessions and so many things happening, people crashing and all sorts of stuff. We didn't even get a chance to talk about. We now have our U.S. rights sorted. Apple TV has won the bid. They paid an extraordinary amount of money to get the bid, and they will have exclusive rights to broadcast F1 in the United States starting in 2026 on a 5-year deal. There's a lot of detail in this, but here's the big points. If you are a fan of F1 TV in its current iteration, I've got some good news and I've got some okay news. You can't just subscribe to F1 TV starting in 2026. The emails have already gone out from F1 TV that basically have told you you will not be able to renew your current subscription as of 2026. That may not be the best news for you to want to hear, but the silver lining is if you subscribe through Apple TV, which is actually $2 a month cheaper than the F1 Premium, you get F1 TV as part of it. So they're not going to separate the two of them. What I thought the fear was, and my biggest fear was you had to subscribe to Apple TV, and then they were going to make you subscribe to F1 TV on top of that, because we've had that happen with sports tiers and stuff like that before. That's not the case. One subscription will get you all the stuff you get now. At least that's the understanding. So that's your commentators as you have them now. That's your onboards as you have them now, your data channel, all those multiple views and stuff that F1 TV has kind of gotten right is all going to be somewhere within the Apple TV platform. My guess is what you're going to see is when you log into Apple TV during a live session, it's going to put Formula One right up in the banner and tell you where to go to find your stuff. But it is a change. Change is never easy. I don't love the fact that it's behind a paywall. I've been outspoken that I think it kills the idea of finding the casual fan. So I don't love it, but I don't know that I hate it yet. We'll see what happens come Australia 2026. If I'm seeing a spinning wheel of nothing, I will not be happy. But Apple TV, it's on you to make sure that that doesn't happen. But those are the details as I know them. I put a tweet out with what I think is the people who've gotten more detail on it than I do. But that's what I know right now. So, Cody, any other things to add on that?
I guess I don't feel super great about giving my money for Formula One to a giant super conglomerate like Apple that I kind of actively try to avoid giving money to. But I want to watch my F1. I'm gonna bite the bullet if I gotta and do it. And the fact that you're just getting it as part of your Apple TV subscription is pretty nice. It's not like you have to pay an extra fee to get your F1. It just gets rolled into your package. So, and maybe I'll watch some of those other Apple shows that they've got. My wife likes one in particular. It's got to do with shrinks, and so maybe I'll check that out or something. But yeah, if I just want it to work is really what I want out of it. F1 TV has ironed out all the kinks, and I've never had any issues with it, really. It always seems to work really well. It always comes through in really good quality because you and I have the really nice one that comes through in 4K. Now that they've got the TV app, which also works great, I don't even have to futz around with hooking up my computer to the TV anymore for that. So it's really been a nice service, and I just want Apple TV's service to work that well out of the get-go, because Apple should be able to figure that one out, especially since there's already the F1 TV product out there. They just need to figure out how that works and do that, at least I would assume. But that's all I want. I want it to work. I don't want it to be super expensive, and it sounds like it's actually going to maybe work in our favor a little bit.
Yeah, like I said, it depends on what you had. The one thing I know that's going away, if you had the F1 TV Pro, which isn't the 4K version, but it was just all the live sessions, and I don't know that you got all the multiple views and all that stuff. But if you just wanted your Alex Jakes and Alex Brundle and Jolien Palmer commentary, you would get that with F1 TV Pros. That will be something a little bit more expensive for you as a fan. Yeah, I mean, I'm willing to give them the opportunity to do something better, but at first, I want to know that you got the basics right. And it's a pretty high bar to meet, because the F1 broadcasts, I mean, we give them a ton of shit on this show, and we have, for what they show and when they show it. But the F1 broadcast as a whole is a coordinated effort, and it's a dance, and it's really an art form. And the fact that they pull it off 24 times a year is actually freaking amazing to how many people that one international feed goes out to. So get the basics right, and we'll talk after that. So I'm willing to at least think about it. Now, the other thing I know, because I've seen tweets on this, and I know that there's certain people out there that are very interested in this. If you have the multi-viewer app, which is not necessarily sanctioned, but it's out there, Apple TV and multi-viewers already come out and said they think that their connection will still be able to work with Apple TV. So you'll be able to still get all of the same stuff that you're used to with the F1 TV that you will get hopefully with Apple TV. Again, yet to be determined on whether or not it's going to work the first time that they do it, but that's what I've read for those who are interested in such things. So yeah, change never easy. Don't like the fact that it shuts out, in my opinion, the casual fan. There's a lot of things I don't love about it, and it does feel like a money grab. And if you want to feel that way about it, you're totally entitled to that opinion. I feel that way about it too, in a lot of sense. But I'm willing to, all right, the ball's in your court. Let's see what you do with it. If you fumble it, I'll be right here to tell you that you fumbled it. All right. Last bit of news before we hop into the Mexico GP weekend itself. American driver Colton Herta has now signed his F2 deal, and he will be racing next year with High Tech, one of the more, I think, known teams. They're usually pretty good. They're usually always competing with one of their drivers for the F2 title. So Colton Herta putting himself into the best position he can. We're going to see in those first rounds whether he can adapt to this, because it's a whole different style of racing. But looks like he's trying to do it in the right way, the best way possible.
Yeah, and he's got many years of experience in IndyCar, and obviously the cars are very different. And so going into F2 to get a feel for how the whole Formula One song and dance works, maybe as much as the cars themselves, I think is going to be really good for him. Now, there have been a lot of very skilled drivers that have struggled in their first year of F2. So if he starts out struggling, I'm going to keep my hopes up that he can pull it together. And if he's got to spend a second year in F2, so be it. To me, he's got to be destined for that Cadillac seat, so long as he can prove himself in F2 that he doesn't just absolutely flounder.
Yeah, because I mean, he's doing it to get
very excited for that.
Yeah, he's doing it to get his super license, because you've got a lot more ability to get your super license points in F2 than whatever he was racing in with IndyCar, for sure. And number two, I think it's the style of racing. And I think to your point, you made a great point. Watching how a Grand Prix weekend works, what are the media responsibilities, being embedded with the team. It's a whole nother ballgame, being on the radio and listening to the feedback and what the drivers are saying. What I hope for this season, yeah, I'd love to see him come out and dominate and win, but I'm not going to put that bar on him. I want him to be a sponge. I want to be a sponge and learn how to manage the Pirelli tires, how to deal with the hybrid systems, all those other things, so that if he does get an F1 seat, he can do something with it, because that's, I think, the final nail in the U.S. coffin is to get an American driver that can kind of unite all this American fan base we were talking about in our last episode. It's a lot of, but the fans are there and they're all in different camps right now. And if you can get one guy that could just come in and say, hey, just root for me because I'm one of you, you could easily take over the U.S. fan base, because it seems ready to do so. But we shall see. We shall see. We will keep our eye on him and wish him all the best in F2. All right. Well, with such a quick turnaround, we just got to hop into this Grand Prix weekend, baby. We're going to talk about our Pirelli track facts of the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez. So, Cody, tell us about that circuit.
All right. The Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez is located in Mexico City, Mexico, at extremely high altitude. The number of laps for this Grand Prix is going to be 71, and the length of the circuit is 2.674 miles. That's 4.304 kilometers. Tire selection from Pirelli is going to kind of match what they did in COTA, where they're going to skip a tire compound, which they did not do last year. So we've got the C2 for the hard, C4 for the medium, and C5 for the soft. Why they're deciding to do this when it shows that all the tires are lasting forever, but it's a choice. And the track characteristics from Pirelli for this race, all out of 5, are going to be a 3 for traction, 3 for braking, 2 for tire stress, 2 for lateral load, a big 5 for track evolution, 2 for asphalt grip, 2 for asphalt abrasion, and another big 5 for downforce. The qualifying lap record here is going to go to Max Verstappen, who's had a lot of luck here over the years. He set that qualifying lap record in 2019. I've noticed a lot of our records are from 2019. Fast cars. And he did that with a 1 minute, 14.758 seconds. The race lap record was actually set in 2021 by Valtteri Bottas. He did that with a 1 minute, 17.774 seconds. Most wins at the track in its current configuration, or rather at this track in general, I believe. Max Verstappen has a whopping 5 race wins here. Second place is Lewis Hamilton with 2. And then it's a tie for third with between Nico Rosberg and Carlos Sainz with 1 win apiece. As you might expect, the most constructor wins at this track is going to go to Red Bull with 5, all 5 of those coming from Max Verstappen. And second place is going to go to Mercedes with 3 wins here. What's the circuit like, Andy?
It is high up. The Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez sits over 2 kilometers above sea level, making the 2.674 mile lap a breathless experience on the engines as well as the drivers. The track still largely follows the outline of the original 1959 circuit, but however, the main difference is being that the spectacular and often spectacularly scary Peraltada corner is now bisected, with the circuit instead winding through the old Foro Sol baseball stadium, providing one of F1's unique vistas and vantages for watching a race. The current weather forecast, as we are back to the traditional weekend, so it's just qualifying in the race that we're worried about. Qualifying is going to be sunny, along with some afternoon clouds, high of 79, winds out of the northeast at 10 to 15, only an 11% chance of rain. And as for the race itself on Sunday, generally sunny, again, some clouds in the area, a high near 80, winds out of the northeast at 10 to 15, a scant 20% chance of rain. So I'm doubting we're going to see our intermediates or wet tires this weekend. Right. All right, so sorry about that. I was trying to mess around with the sound button and it wasn't quite working for me. But so what we're going to do, we're going to take a quick break. We'll re-rack. We'll come on back and we'll get into what we think is going to happen this weekend for the Mexico GP. And then we will tell you when you can find your sessions, because they're on at some odd times this weekend for us in the U.S. because it's going to be daylight. F1 in daylight. What a concept. Anyway, come on back. We'll get into it. Welcome back on in. This is season 7, episode number 38 of the Outlap F1 podcast. It's our 2025 Mexico City GP preview show as we wrapped up COTA and go straight into Mexico as our doubleheader, then a bit of a break, and then it's going to get thick and fast near the end. It's triple header to end the season, so woo-wee, we got some work to do. But anyway, you've got Andy. I'm along with Cody tonight. We just kind of talked about some of the recent news and got you all prepped up with the track facts and where the weather is going to be. And we're going to take our shot at what we think is going to happen this weekend. All right, so as we are apt to do, we will start with the pole sitter. Last year's pole sitter was Carlos Sainz in the Ferrari, who had himself a great weekend and his final victory with Ferrari last season in a year of feel-good wins. That was definitely a feel-good win for sure. All right, championship time. Cody, who do we think is going to take pole position in Mexico?
I got to keep going for Max Verstappen. He has 5 wins at this track. He clearly runs very well here. Now, last year, the car didn't look super great at this track. He kind of made a little bit of an ass out of himself by getting 20 seconds worth of penalties in 1 lap. But, you know, he's got time to pull that back together. So I'm hoping against hope that Max is able to start off with the pole position again.
That's a good choice. I'm not going to argue that that's a bad choice at this point. But if McLaren are going to stop the bleeding, they got to get ahead of him. They got to do it somewhere, and why not do it here? So I'm going to give him my best shot. I'm going to say Lando Norris because he's been the closest one to Max in this whole stretch. So let's see if we can maybe pull that extra 10th or 100th or 1,000th of a second or whatever it's going to take. Let's hope he does it because it's a short lap. It means there's less chance for a mistake to happen. I think that favors Lando a little bit here. So anyway, I'm going to go Lando Norris, take the pole here in Mexico. All right, so what do we think the lap time is going to be? Last year's pole time was a 1:15.946. I saw Max Verstappen's track record, and I thought usually these cars are close to that. I don't think they're going to quite get there, even with the C5 tire. I don't know that it's going to last, especially at this altitude. So I'll take a stab at it. I'm going to say it's going to be faster than last year, but not much more. 1:15.786 is what I got. Cody, what you thought?
You know, thinking that I went too fast in COTA makes me think that your guess is probably pretty good, but damn it, I'm going to stick to my guns here. I did go with about 0.4 faster than last year. So my time is going to be a 1:15.501 second.
All right. Very good. All right. So we shall turn to Sunday. It's a traditional weekend. So 3 practice sessions of qualifying and then a race. So the race on Sunday, who do we have making the podium? Cody, what you got?
I'm gonna surprise you guys with this one, and I'm gonna go with Max Verstappen takes the win. But the Ferrari cars went surprisingly well here last year. I'm thinking that maybe they can find that magic again. So I'm gonna go with Charles Leclerc in P2 and going for the long shot on this one because I need something crazy to give me a comeback in our little predictions game here. I'm gonna go with Lewis Hamilton getting his first Ferrari podium by scoring P.
All right, very good. No McLaren's in the podium. Interesting. All right. Well, I will slightly disagree, but I do think this isn't a track that you'd think it would suit them, especially in more current iterations, but things have always weirdly happened to them. Like Lando gets out in Q1 a couple years ago and has to go through the field. Oscar hasn't gone particularly great here really ever. Guy who needs a win. I know Oscar, I would love to be able to say, I think this is where the bleeding stops. I don't know that it stops here. It may have to be in Brazil where if he's going to make it stop, that's where he's going to have to really try. But anyway, I'm going to go with my heart again. I'm going to say Lando to take the pole, Lando to take the win. Max is going to be there. There's no doubt in my mind. If Lando wins, it's not going to be by much because I think Max is going to be there and I've got him in P2. And I do think that Ferrari form is kind of scary good here. It's interesting that they could be bad in other places, but sometimes find it here. This is a very one-off circuit, so it may just prove to work for the Ferraris here. You have Charles Leclerc coming home in P3 as well. All right. So our fastest lap on the driver, last year's fastest lap was set by Charles Leclerc, 1:18.336. I'll go first with this one. Again, I do have Ferraris showing some form here. I think they're going to be part of the equation for sure. So I've got Lewis Hamilton taking that fastest lap with a 1:18.759, maybe a little slower than last year. But Cody, what you got?
I also think the Ferrari is going to go very well here, but I'm going with the other Ferrari driver, Charles Leclerc, for that fastest lap. And I got him doing it with a little faster than the fastest lap he set last year with 1:18.228 seconds.
All right, very good. And so for our bonus picks, we've selected P8, P9, P10. This could be very spicy, especially given the fight for P6 in the constructors, the fight for P2 in the constructors, all sorts of points. Every point matters at this stage of the game. I'll go first with this one. I've got P8. I think this is one of those circuits that Fernando Alonso seems to like. Aston Martin's coming a lot better in the second half of the season, so I will give Alonso P9. I think this is one of those ones also that Liam Lawson will show real well at and show better than he has before. So I've got him coming home in P9. P10, that Haas fight, I think is real. They've got a bunch of upgrades on the car. This will be the first real chance to really shake them down in a non-sprint weekend. So I've got Ollie Behrman coming home to complete the points in P10. Those are mine. Cody, what you got?
Pretty good weekend for Carlos Sainz coming up again. Maybe not as good as a race win, but I do have him getting some points for Williams by finishing P8. Unfortunately, I do think it's going to be maybe another rough weekend for Kimi Antonelli. I've got him down in P9. And then I've got Yuki Tsunoda scraping together the last point for Red Bull.
All right. Very good. And we've done a different prop bet this time. And our prop bet, we never really bet this one because we didn't know how we were going to score it, but we're going to figure out a way to figure that out. So which team is going to have the quickest pit stop? It may be a one-stop race, so that may be a very significant pit stop, as it turns out to be. I will go first with this one. I'm going to give this one to Mercedes because I haven't seen them have a problem with a pit stop in a while. So I think they're consistently pretty good. But Cody, what you got?
Bull and McLaren are, at least over the last bunch of years, kind of historically the two best teams for competing for that fastest pit stop of the year award. But I want Red Bull to win everything. So I'm giving this one to Red Bull. It's just on gut feeling.
0.89 seconds. Well, watch it happen. But anyway, so when and where can you watch your F1 this weekend? Well, we are still in the 2025 contract, so that means ESPN family of networks. And yes, you can still watch F1 TV as you always have until the end of this season. Practice 1, however, kicks off 2:30 p.m. Eastern, so it's all afternoon sessions. That'll be on ESPNU. Practice 2, 6 p.m. Eastern. So you be done with work, go watch some F1 practice. I intend to do that, just that. That'll be on ESPN News. Practice 3 kicks off Saturday, 1:30 p.m. Eastern. ESPN News is your destination there. Qualifying happens Saturday afternoon, 5 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Central. Again, ESPN News is your home there. The race itself kicks off 4 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Central. So an hour later than the Austin race kicked off, but that'll also be on Big ABC, free to air if you can find it, or find your ABC local affiliate anywhere on your cable box. F1 TV also will have all of these sessions if you are a subscriber to that. So yeah, we re-rack, we go again. Last part of the season is going to come at us thick and fast. We've got a whole lot that drivers is getting tighter and tighter and tighter. So lots to play for. Keep in tune with us over the weekend. If anything big breaks, we will do our best to bring it to you as the sessions go on. Cody, any final thoughts?
Just that I think it's a little sad that Sergio Perez is not on the grid this year. Feels like we're going to be missing a little something, not having Papa Perez cheering on Checo, but now we know Perez is going to be back next year. So we're only getting 1 year off from that. This can be a bit of a processional type race, in my opinion, in the past. We just got to hope that your favorite driver's at the front of that procession.
Makes that qualifying very, very important. Almost Monaco-esque, not quite, but can be. You know, we have seen drivers do come through the field before. Lando, I think, did it from the back of the grid to P7 once. Let's hope that's not the case again this time through. But anyway, we will see what the Mexico GP has in store for us. It's the Day of the Dead weekend, so Dia de los Muertos will be on full display. And I think you're going to see shots of Sergio Perez in that Cadillac simulated garage, with headphones on. And I'm sure the stadium will go absolutely crazy for him, as they are always apt to do. All right. Well, we are ready for the Mexico GP. We hope you enjoy that this weekend coming up as well. So as always, folks, take care of yourselves out there, and may all your laps be fast.